اللهم إني أسألك من فجاءة الخير وأعوذ بك من فجاءة الشر. Alhamdulillah, all praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's giving us the chance to be here to share things that we know and to gain from that and to live as a complete Muslims and to be as a world citizen, inshallah. So in the last, as Sir said, we started looking at persona from personality. We started looking into conscious and subconscious mind, and we found that link between the subconscious mind and thinking and the subconscious mind, how they both are related. Then we arrived at thinking and the language are related, how thinking and language are related, because we start thinking in terms of the language, words exactly. So the more number of words we know, the more fluent we are in a language. Even though if it is our mother tongue, we need to be very, very fluent in a language. Then only the thinking becomes more fluent. Then when it came to language, then we found how the language works with the man and women. Women tend to have more word. The language part of the brain of the women looks to be more eloquent than the men's, and how this thinking process. Then we found the brain. We were talking about the brain of a man and a woman, how different they are. Then when we arrived at looking into the brain of a man and a woman are different, and physically men and women are different, and how they are equal, or in worldly terms, and generally we find men and women are equal or not equal. We have always found that women are treated very badly. Then so we, from different cultures, different countries, from time in history, we see so many things. So we arrived at, we want to discuss the topic with equality and equity, gender. Why Allah has created people, two different kinds of human being, man and woman, and why that difference and how it works with. And is there the whole world, when it comes to the concept of man and woman, they talk about equality, both are equal. Or then we wanted to introduce the word, we wanted to see equity and equality. Why Allah has created people differently, to both pairs? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has always said in the Quran that He has created everything in pairs. When there is a sun, there is a moon, there is good thing, there's a bad thing, there is a very fertile land, there is a desert. So Allah has created everything in pairs now. Day and so now equity and equality. We wanted to see gender equity and equality, two things. So when it comes to equity and equality, we wanted to understand this term equity very clearly, and equality most of us know very clearly. Equity, we may have some nuances of differences in understanding the term equity, and as well as even the term gender. We talk about gender equity, yeah, even that I think we will have a different nuances, different understanding, because we have always seen gender. We understand, many of us as teachers, we have been language teachers or even otherwise, we know gender, masculine gender, feminine gender in grammar, in any language, and how it works with. So now I would like to just brief this topic, deviate little into this deep and get back to the mainstream again. Now, look into this term, gender. Let me just share the screen. Let me just take my, I hope my screen is visible. My screen is visible, sir?
Sir, visible.
Visible, okay. So we can see gender, yeah, gender equality, and most of us have heard the term gender equality and gender equity. But we may not know what these terms mean, the difference between them, how they relate to men's violence against women, or what it exactly means. See, most of the time when we go to fill a paper, fill some forms, some applications, we have always seen name and a father's name, mother's name, date of birth. Then we find a term gender, or in some applications, we do find the term a name, father's name, mother's name, and date of birth and other details. Then we find a term either gender, or we find a term which is sex. So which one is more apt, most of you think? Sex, we write male, female. Gender, we write male or female. Have you found these two terms in the some applications use the word gender, some would have used the word sex? Which one is more apt, most of you think? Is it possible for me to get some kind of I mean, in the chat box, or somebody who can say which is more right? Is it the word gender, or is the word sex? Which one in the application should be there? If you can write one in the chat box, it should refer to gender, maybe. If you can just type two, it should refer to the word sex. Tell me which one. Can I just have somebody, people to write, like whether one or two? Which one is mostly right, do you feel? Is it yes? Is it G or S? Is it number one or number two? Uh, um, can I see in the uh, chat box anybody is replying? Is it one or two? So gender is the most appropriate term. Only one person is able to type. Alhamdulillah, I hope everybody is active. Maybe any other reply? Okay, let us see. We have these two terms. But actually, when we see, the most right term is actually gender, not the word, the sex, not the word gender. What is the difference? Let us understand the difference, then we'll arrive at what should be more correctly. We are always mostly thinking that gender and this can be interchanged, these words. But actually, these two words cannot be interchanged, gender and sex, because sex refers to the physical nature of a human being, and the word gender refers to the cultural or socio-cultural background or the psychological brought up of a man, of a person. For example, mostly now, let us look into this example. When people say, like, tell a small girl, hey, why are you doing this? You're behaving like a boy. Yeah. But they see that the girl, even though it's a girl, she's behaving like a boy. Or they tell a boy, somebody who cries, tell the boy, like, why do you cry so much? You are behaving like a girl. So they think crying is a kind of a very behaviorism of a girl, or being boisterous, or being very arrogant, or being brave, or something is a characteristics of a boy. So the cultural brought up, the thoughts, social, psychological, social, the nature of thinking that these things are belonging to a boy, these or that of a girl, this kind of behaviorism, this is what actually refers to gender, in fact. Yeah. Let us see, look down, let's scroll down. Gender equality means equal outcomes for women and men. Gender equality is the process to achieve. Gender equity is the process. Equity is the process to achieve equality. Yeah. Equity is the process to achieve equality. So what is equity? Equity, as I told you, it is not referring to the physical nature. It is referring to the socio-cultural, psychological, behavioral of a person, that we categorize this behavior to. For example, there are men who may have the behavior of a girl, of a woman. There are women may have a behavior of a man. Yeah, behavior. Yeah, very, very decision making. That is what they think like. So this is how every society has certain built up norms, or this is characteristics of a man. These are the characteristics of a woman. Yeah, this is what we refer to by the word gender. Actually, by the word sex, we refer to more probably the physical nature. So now we are looking into gender equity. Before we look into this word equity, equity, what does it mean? Many of you, most of you should be aware of, but still I would like to brief that one. So equity means even in economic, financial terms, you can see mutual funds, equity shares. Equity shares, when they say equity shares, what does it mean? So I start a business for 10 lakhs, and a man gives me I wanted to money for me. I have only 2 lakhs. I need 8 lakhs. So a man gives me 6 lakhs, and another person gives me 2 lakhs. So if I get a profit of 1 lakh, I am going to share uh, not equally to both these people. The person who gave me 6 lakhs will have more percentage of the my profit, and the person who gave me 2 lakhs will have what is relevant for him, that profit only. Both of them will not be shared. This only I referred to in the last term, last speech with the regard to this equity understanding. What Ali radiallahu ta'ala's time, when he was a Khalifa, what happened, one incident. I don't know if it was too mathematical, and I don't know if people understood it, or it was very mathematically like calculation. It was like involving three people eating rotis, and how they divided between each other, and how Ali radiallahu ta'ala who gave the money to both of them. Yeah, so that's the process. So equity, and equity in generally. Let me have a 3-year-old boy, and I have a 12-year-old boy. I'm going to buy a book in the shop for both of them. I will not be buying the same kind of books for both the kids. I will not tell that, okay, I have to be equal among, I have to treat my kids equally. So let me buy the same book which I buy for the 12-year-old kid. Let me buy the same book for the 3-year-old boy also. I won't do that. I will see what is applicable, what is suitable, a visual dictionary for the 3-year-old, yeah, or a speaking dictionary for a 3-year-old, or picture-based one. But when it comes to the uh, 12-year boy, I may buy a dictionary, a real word-to-word dictionary, or more Rosette Thesaurus, or something more words-based. So I am having equity between both my children, and I'm going to buy food for these two. I'm going to buy what is relevant for the 3-year-old and what is relevant for the 12-year-old. I will not buy the same kind of food that a 12-year-old is able to eat. This is what we refer to as behaving equity, having equity. So actually, we they say gender equity is the process to achieve gender equality. Equity we use in order to have equality, because let us see, because otherwise treating women and men equally might not be actually fair. It may not end up fair if I start treating them very equally. Just like, as I said, whatever food I buy for the 12-year-old, if I buy for the 2-year-old and 3-year-old and make him to eat, oh, you have to eat this one, it may end up something very bad for the 3-year-old. It may end up very seriously bad for his health. Yeah. So treating women and men equally in all times. So, but what in fact it can create further disadvantage. Gender equity measures are often needed to level the playing ground. Now, what is gender? In the beginning, I was talking about what is gender. Let us see here. I hope these fonts are clear because I've reduced it, or maybe I can make it a little bigger. Followers. No, okay. Gender is a word used to describe the roles, as I told you, behaviors, and characteristics that society defines as masculine or feminine. Gender does not refer to the physical nature of a person, of a man and a woman. Physically being a man, physically being a woman. That is not the word gender is referring to. Gender is a word used to describe the roles, behaviors, and characteristics. Actually, there are more adjectives to be added, can be added, yeah, but I made it very short. That society defines as masculine or the society defines as feminine. That's how. So men are expected to follow masculine roles, behaviors, and traits, and women are expected to follow feminine ones. Yeah, this is how it works with. Now we should be able to think whether is this equity, the word gender, can there be a gender equity? Equity is correct, but gender equality, can it happen? That's what we see here. This word very clearly explains gender equity is the process to achieve gender equality. Gender equity is the process to achieve gender equality. That is very, very important. And this is so superbly, finely happening in case of Allah, the rules and regulations given by Allah, because He is the creator. He is the one who created man. He is the one who created women. So He knows what kind of equity should exist between them and what, so that they will become equal, because He is our creator. He is so beautiful. But many times we are not able to understand that His creation, His equity, because as I told you in the beginning, when in that many other cases, in the last session when we discussed about Ali radiallahu ta'ala sharing the roti and the dirham equally between two people, at first it looks like he was not doing fair. He's giving to one person 7 dirhams and the one person 1 dirham. Yeah, so it is looked very unfair, but it is actually fair. That is how the creator, the one who created us, has kept the equity very beautifully between man and woman, so that equality will exist in the world between his creations. And not only that, actually, if you look, we have set the topic, even in today's world, in universities, in colleges, in working places, generally it has become a very norm or talk about equity, giving equal position for a man and a woman, that so many other things. Yeah. So they are talking about equal, all human beings are equal. Yeah, that's, but in Islam, equity is not just existing between man and women, equity is existing between all his creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Equity exists between man and nature, equity exists between women and nature, equity exists between rivers and oceans, all his creations, between an ant and an elephant, whatever. Allah has made and a very beautiful. In every one of his creations, if you look into, the equity exists. Allah's nature, Allah's created. But we are worried about only one of those things. We have taken a small part from what Allah has kept, and we are discussing like gender equity, because there is a big issue going on in the world, because in the Western world and here we use the term equality. Man and women are equal, they have to be treated equally. How? And whether it is possible to treat them equally, or should we follow the terms of equity? Because we have seen treating women and men equally might not actually become fair. It may land onto a problem. So this, you can see, even the Western world knows it and they follow it. For example, if you go into the case of Olympics, if you look in the Olympic Games, Olympic programs, there is a 100-meter sprint race, 100 meters. Fine. So 100 meters, it's the fastest one in the Olympic. It takes seconds to finish the 100-meter sprint. But they don't have the same norms and rules and regulations. Yeah, that's a different one for the men's, for different one for a women's. There are so many Olympic sports. There's different norms and regulations for a men's program and a women's program, different rules and regulations. Why do they have it? Because they know there is a difference that they cannot have. For example, as we saw this term, very, very interesting term, that the starting point, let me come down here. The women and have here, let me equal. Gender equity recognizes, look into this point. Gender equity recognizes that women are not in the same starting position as men. Or we can say both are not, recognizes that men and women both are not in the same starting position. They have a different starting position. So the equity recognizes this thing. So it happens in many places. Yeah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I said, for example, very mild one to start with. We can see namaz, prayer. We all know we have to pray 5 times a day. Yeah. And once a man or a woman, a boy or a girl reaches puberty, from that time onwards, man and woman fall into the rules and regulations of Sharia, and the kitab, account kitab is open and getting ready once we reach puberty, a boy or a girl. From that time, prayer starts accountable. We become accountable for all our good deeds. And before that, the accountability depends on various different aspects, various different criterias, and in that there are different schools of thought. What happens, yeah. But in general, every school of thought accepts only when a boy or a girl reaches puberty, all the Sharia rules are applicable, and accountability and the Hisab Kitab starts opening, getting record. So, why is it that once puberty reaches, only with that everything becomes, because only when a boy or a girl reaches puberty, the ruh, the soul, and the body are in tandem with each other, flexible. For imagine this is my hand, and I'm going to have a gloves which is very tight for us for this hand, and it's very tight. I'm going to move my fingers like this. Yeah, I say, even though I'm capable of moving my fingers, I'm fisting out and all that I'm able to do, but I will not be able to do it the same when I have a very tight gloves on my hands. Yeah, because I say the gloves is very tight. The same way, the ruh has not gone through growth, will not go through growth from the day one, from the day one till akhira. The ruh is same all the time. Only it is our physical nature, physical body, which is going through changes, which has grown. For example, my ruh is capable of talking what I'm talking today when I was a 2-day baby. Even at the age of 2, the ability to speak, my ruh has all the time, the way I'm doing right now. But as I said, the gloves is so tight in my hands that I worn a tight gloves, I'm not able to move it. The body was not accommodating the powers, the abilities of the ruh. My body, I didn't have a nice teeth come up, nice tongue, the movement, the coordination. I did not know the brain is not there to fluently bring about the coordination between my tongue and my brain, my thinking, all this. But the ruh is actually capable of doing it. So it is never gone through. But when a boy or a girl reaches puberty, the ruh and the body are in exact tandem. That's the peak actually starts, that whatever the ruh is capable of, the body can withstand that one. It's that's how you can find people, young youth, adults. Sometimes they're capable of, even without food, forget about Rosa, Ramadan, I'm not talking about. Even in normally without food, they get up, they proceed a long day. That's why we say they will be capable of doing many things very without proper food or without certain backup, they're able to accomplish. But that is actually not good, if even though it looks like that, because that's how the puberty time, from that time onwards, everything changes. Yeah. And I think, um, Professor Sapnasap, I have come
Yes,
to,
sir. Time.
yeah, almost time, Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, if given a chance, we'll see you in the next class.